This is Jonathan Traumer here with another episode of Fitstyle Podcast with my co-host Zac and our new guest, who I like to call G. So let's let him introduce himself and get on with this new episode.
Hello, my name's Guillermo. Just thank you for having me. Gonna be competing for the first time in August. Really excited about it. Starting prep this year. Well, doing some bulking last year, and then this year, really focusing on the prep. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, and starting a cut now for 3 weeks, so it's going good, and we'll see.
Nice, awesome. Cool. What was your max weight for your bulking season, or I guess your starting weight for your prep?
225. We got to 225. I'm 6'1", so that seemed about right. And also, I think towards the end, it was getting a little bit harder to put the extra pounds. So I kind of oscillated around 223, 225 for a while. And that was me at around 4,200 calories, which was hard. It was hard to maintain for sure.
Right.
It was a struggle.
That's a lot.
Man, that's a lot. I think I finished at like 3,200 and my max weight was 194. So, I mean, obviously I'm only 5'10", but that's awesome. I know it's only been 3 weeks. I think you have started pretty close to when I started. I started January 1st for my prep coming up, but like you said, this is your first competition, stuff like that. How are things with like your coach? You know, obviously being it your first time, did you go through the bulking season with them as well?
It was weird because I started with a different coach, and that was, I believe that was like February of 2020. So my goal was to compete in 2020, but then, well, this whole thing happened. So right after I started with that coach, gyms were closed and everything. So it was hard to keep track and just to keep them motivated and everything. And also, I don't think that coach was the right fit. So I was kind of discouraged with it. And it took me a while to sort of like figure out that, it might take a few tries to find that person that you vibe with and that, understands what your goal is. And that's what happened with my second coach. So I started with this coach last year, around this time last year. So we kind of picked up where we left off with the other coach and kind of started at a bulk and continue that throughout. Halfway through the year, we kind of assessed the situation and we both decided to wait until this year. I didn't feel ready, and he also wanted to spend more time with me and sort of finesse everything. So that's what made sense. So it's been about a little bit over a year with this new coach, but night and day compared with the first one. So it's been good.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. Definitely need a good coach to connect with. I met my coach at my first bodybuilding show, which I didn't have a coach, as you can hear in episode 1. But are you guys doing like a meal plan? Or are you doing like if it fits your macros? Like, what's your I guess process for this?
Kind of both. I mean, obviously I could be a lot more specific about my stuff if I really wanted to be. But for right now, I kind of do that whole if it fits your macros type of deal. Not really trying to hit a really specific number of calories right now. I have a generalized idea, but just because I'm still kind of putting on weight, and I'm everything in the gym, like performance wise and like muscle growth and everything's been pretty solid. So I don't really feel the need to track my stuff like too specifically. That being said, I know that time's going to come here pretty soon where I'm going to have to be really picky about those numbers. yeah, for right now, like I do meal prepping because it makes it easier. Because even though I don't know what my macros necessarily are, or like my calories, like a specific number, I know because of what the meals are, I know that whatever it is, it's consistent and it's working. So that kind of makes me feel a little bit better about the process. And then that number, which I'm guessing is about 3 to 3,500 calories right now, that number's been pretty consistent since I've started putting on weight, probably around September. So it's
Yeah,
been going
for
pretty
sure.
well. Yeah, and I'm sitting around the same kind of weight you are right now, John. I think I'm like 190 to 195 right now. And I've plateaued a little bit on the weight, but honestly, like I said, like that's fine for me. I'm not trying to get like huge. Just because, like I said, everything in the gym and like weight or muscle gain, I mean, has been moving pretty steadily. So we're not trying to, if it ain't broke, I'm just kind of in that mindset right now.
Yeah, I see
So,
you guys on Instagram. You guys looking really strong. So like, it's whatever you're
it's so
doing is
much fun.
working.
I love it.
Crazy. So I don't know if you guys know, but Zach competed in men's physique. I did classic physique last year. I'm switching over to men's bodybuilding. And then if you could tell us what class you're doing here.
Yeah, same for me. I'm starting with bodybuilding, so I'm gonna go all out.
Heck yeah, with the big boys. So
Nice.
what have you guys, I know you're only 3 weeks in, but have you and your coach touched on posing much? Did you like meet up with him? Is he an online coach? Did he just give you YouTube videos? Like, what was your posing deal?
It's been there. We've done a couple of sessions with the mandatories, and then check-in pics and everything else. Of course, it is not an online. He is not local either, though. So I do see him about every 4 to 5 weeks, just because he's about an hour and a half away from where I live. So it is. That's the other thing. I wanted to actually have someone there. I mean, I don't see him, as often as I would like to, but yeah, we have some good sessions where we get to, he answers questions about form, and then we hit on some posing as well sometimes. But yeah, just, yeah, that's one of the things I think that I need to finesse more is trying to learn how my body moves and trying to hit those poses right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's where I'm at. I'd say posing, like all of us probably worked out before deciding to compete. So like the training aspect, it's like we probably already were going to the gym. So like what that part's the fun part. Obviously everyone eats. We're just, maybe tweaking it to more chicken and rice than we usually eat. And then so
Right.
posing is usually something that's very new to people. So for me, even just doing classic, which is like half the poses is bodybuilding, it was still overwhelming to hold them so long, to I guess hide your weaknesses, show your strengths, and it was kind of overwhelming. So like, what was your experience with posing so far? Was it something like, I don't really know what I'm doing, or is it something fun for you, like a form of expression?
For me, yeah, it is fun for sure. But then, it's like that one of those things that you constantly, I'll look at old pictures or old videos and I'm looking crazy. Then I was like, you might think that you know what you're doing, and then you look back at it a few months later and you're like, oh, I definitely was doing this and that wrong. But yeah, the one interesting thing is always like, and I talked with my coach about it, is you do your posing with your phone or the mirror and stuff, but understanding that the stage is 5 or 6 feet up above the judges, and like trying to impress the judges, right? So they're sitting below you and like trying to find your light, and like you said, hide your weaknesses and show your strengths. So like keeping that in mind it's been the learning experience for me. It's like trying to remember all those things while you're doing a vacuum and holding your breath and smiling and flexing and the whole
I
thing.
Million
definitely
things going on at
underestimated.
once.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I definitely underestimated it. There's been times where I've done like FaceTime sessions with my coach, and I'm like literally sweating, like because just holding these poses. because you're just so tense for so long. And that's something that was probably my weakest point for my first shot. I don't know if you would agree, Zach.
Yeah,
it's so hard to stand up there.
It is.
Yeah, but definitely something I'm trying to take more seriously this time around, because I realize you can have a good physique, but if you don't know how to show it, another guy could win. And by going to posing clinics, they're like, you can jump 2 to 3 spots just because you know how to pose. So I've really dived into, of course, my mandatories, but also just kind of creating mini posing routines just to kind of see what I like, see what I don't like, just like working out. You try a bunch of different exercises and then you know what works, what doesn't work, different variations of most muscular, which one looks best on you, which is kind of tweaked more like the leaner you get because it can change. But I found that like that's been the best for me. I don't know if you watch posing routines and stuff like that.
Well, I have a question for you. So when you're doing, because I've seen the videos that you post, and I mean, it looks, are you improvising or do you know what you're doing and then you kind of plan it out in your head and then you're like, and you start hitting the poses? Because that's the one thing that I'm struggling with right now is when I look back at my video, you can see that I'm like kind of like thinking and second guessing what I'm gonna do next. And I think I don't see that in yours, so I'm wondering.
Oh, okay. So it is slightly choreographed. So now for obviously a T-walk, like a show, you're probably going to want to work on that for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to perfect it, because it's like a set thing you're doing, a set song. For the ones that I have on my page, usually I've heard the song before, but I'm only really working that out like for maybe 5-10 minutes before. I guess I just kind of like, and this is why I'm trying to practice multiple songs that are not going to be the routine I'm doing, is because it gets my improvisational skills worked. So obviously different songs creates different styles of posing. So like I'll have like let's say for instance, like the last one I did, I'm in my bedroom, I have my laptop playing out loud the song. So like I pull up YouTube, put the volume all the way up, and then I'll like just kind of work through it. And then let's say like there's like a lyric, I can like play the song in my head and then like slow it down so that it matches up. And then I'll get my phone while my laptop is playing and then record like maybe just the beginning or whatever, but it is all one take. So because I post them on Instagram Reels, like the longest it's going to be is a minute, which so is a T-walk, which is perfect. Some of them are only like 30 seconds, but it's like a short enough time where you're getting just a couple poses in, but it's like it looks like it's the super like well thought out thing, but I really only spend maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes before I hit record, and I probably record like 5 times. So it goes by quick because it's only a minute. So like the one I posted, usually like I think of the song a couple days prior, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and like try to figure something out. I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And then I like take one take, okay, I'll just clean this up, take another take, I'll clean that up. I'm like, okay, this takes good. And then I just add the music to it. So I recommend everyone does that. Or people will just pose to whatever and then they add the music later and it's not the music they're posing to. I definitely recommend create other posing routines that are not going to be your routine. I think it really helps like your like posing vocabulary. And even when I was doing classic, I learned the bodybuilding poses because like front lat spread, I think isn't even in classic. I think side chest is, and side chest for bodybuilding is slightly different than classic. So I wanted to learn all these cool different poses, like, you know, the mantis, all that cool stuff. So when I do a posing routine, regardless of my class, I have like all these different things in my bag I can grab from, and it just looks cool. So obviously also watching, you know, posing routines on YouTube and stuff. That's been my biggest inspiration, seeing guys do it, like, ooh, I want to do that. Just like if you were to watch like, you know, Tony Hawk do a skateboarding trick and you kind of steal his tricks from him, like, ooh, that trick looks cool, I want to do that. So that's my thought process behind how I do all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy though. Like, that you went through and, you figure out what works for you and what you like, what you don't like, that kind of stuff.
I would suggest the same for training. Like I watch it's kind of silly. I don't know if you guys do this. Like I'll watch like Ian Valier or, some of the Natty News daily guys like train, like just on YouTube or Instagram, and just see like how they control the weight and what movements they're doing, and even people's vlogs on what they're eating. Like I kind of just see the people who are successful and just take notes and then do what they're doing. And a lot of what I do now is actually someone else who thought of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just doing that over, this is only my second year. I started bodybuilding last spring. So yeah, only my second show. So I could imagine what I'd be in 10 years. So
yeah. I mean, that's really all a strategy is you think of something that you like and you combine it with something else that somebody else did that you like, and then it slowly snowballs into this thing that becomes you, it's unique to you. And then that turns into 10 years down the road and somebody else sees it and they add part of what you did to their own thing, and then they start creating something. And then, I think that's kind of how it, ripples out like that. But really, it's a great thing for sure. Because the more research you do, you find that everybody has something different. Everybody brings something different to the table, whether that be like posing stuff or training, diet, nutrition stuff. Everybody's kind of got their own unique take on it, which I think is kind of cool.
Well, even in our first episode, we talk about how online for bodybuilding, there's like a million different articles and a million different ways how to peak properly. And people are talking about water, sodium, carb manipulation. Some people say don't train so many days. Some people say you can train the night before, all this crazy stuff. And it's like, what do you believe? So seeing reputable sources.
What did you do, or who did you look at, I guess, or how did you learn to go about your peak week?
Mine, first, I don't think I peaked well. 2, I looked at a bunch of different sources. I mean, you guys can see on my Instagram what my show pics turned out well. I was in decent shape, but by no means was I if I had a coach, I would definitely not look the same by any means. I probably needed to lose 10 more pounds, but I still looked lean and still looked good and had a decent amount of muscle. And if I didn't have that size, there's no way I would have placed that way. If I was the same conditioning but less muscle, I don't think I'd place that way. So I can thank myself for that at least. But as far as peaking, I saw like you mentioned to me, Greg Doucette's videos. I saw just some men's bodybuilding.com articles, just honestly some random stuff, random YouTube videos, a little bit of stuff from John Meadows' videos. But ultimately my peak week was a week. So I guess 10 days out, because a week prior to 3 days out, I was on no carb, but I didn't lower my calories enough. I kept my calories, I think it was 2,000, but I was eating a lot of protein and a lot of fat. I should have kept my fat low. And then I manipulated sodium a little bit in my water. And then about 3 days prior, slowly added carbs in, with sources like rice, potatoes, and then the day of the show, I mainly just ate candy, small bits of candy, just because it was easy sugar and easy carbs to just keep me going. With that, at the show, I didn't pump up properly. I had a pump, and you can tell I'm pretty vascular naturally on stage, but I definitely think I could have warmed up a little bit sooner. And I could have used better equipment. So there's a picture of me just backstage doing push-ups and stuff like that, and trying to get my abs tight and stuff like that. But essentially did keto for a week, and then slowly added carbs at the end. I probably eat enough carbs, honestly, and then water was low to high. So it's very like I can't tell you the exact numbers or anything, but that's essentially what I did.
I mean, that's like, that stuff gets really, really specific, you know. But that's kind of what I think, that's what, when I was watching Coach Greg, when I was watching his videos, that's what he said too, was to go keto for a little while. And then I think he said to switch over, basically like night and day, as far as like, all right, you're not eating any carbs. And then all of a sudden the night before a show, you know, he has like a pizza, or he ate like a whole box of cereal. I think there was one video, because I was watching his vlogs for his contest prep. I don't know if I mentioned this also, but last time when I was looking at Peak Week videos, I don't know if you know who, I think it's pronounced Vitruvian Physique. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with. So he does a lot of fitness videos, great content if you guys want to check him out, by the way. But he does a video on Peak Week too. And it's less of like it's not so much of like an anecdotal video as much as it is really science based. So he really breaks the numbers down, the percentages, like this is what you're doing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I forget what all he covered. It was like sodium, you know, your water intake, all your macros, obviously. But that was the other thing that I watched a lot of his stuff when I was trying to do my peak week. I think it helped a lot though.
I remember that video. He like literally has a graph and like, okay, here's like your percentages, here's like your milligrams.
Yeah, it's a whole chart of
which is why I'm getting a coach, so they can essentially tell me what that is and I can figure that out the wise way.
Right.
But speaking of peak week, what I do want to definitely touch on is for lack of a better term, prep brain, like what it feels like when you're lightheaded, you're tired, maybe you're moody, cranky, and just the stuff like that happens during prep. Now I know for G, this is going to be like your first prep, so that might not be something you're experiencing, but maybe something we can go over and talk about, like Zac and I's experience, and if you kind of have any questions of like what to expect moving forward and stuff like that. So I guess, Zac, if you want to start, what was it like mood wise, hunger wise, maybe how you felt a week out?
Yeah. Okay, so this is probably, I don't want to deter anybody from bodybuilding from what I'm about to say, but you feel like complete crap. I was so tired. I felt I wasn't necessarily malnourished because the deficits in calories and macros was very small, but you feel like you're malnourished and you feel tired and you feel cranky. I always felt like I was pissing off all my friends and stuff, and just because like my mood swings and stuff, it was kind of crazy. But it doesn't really start out that way, because like I said, so you want to make it, it's a gradual thing. So you know, when you start out, it's not that bad, but you know, after a couple months, it definitely hits hard. And especially in the last month, I would say, last few weeks, last month, you really start to feel the effects of like not having food for a while. And it can be kind of tough. I mean, a lot of people talk about the physical challenges of prepping for a show as far as diet and training, but there's a lot of mental challenges too, a lot of hurdles, you know, as far as like just being able to push past not eating what you want, not feeling the way you want to feel, not sleeping the way you want to sleep. So it's really important to recognize that, you know, the mental side of things. I mean, you can do it. It's, you know, if you're a disciplined individual, and you kind of have that mindset, like you can do it, but you know, let the record show that it's not it's not for the faint of heart. it's tough,
no.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I would completely agree that just because you work out and you love to work out and you have a good physique doesn't mean you should compete necessarily. There's a whole other side of like mental, you know, emotional, physical side that very few people can handle, or maybe even should. I know some people who may be triggered by food, or maybe like they have certain conditions medically that it's not good for them to do. Because if we think about it, bodybuilding is not healthy. when you're getting down to, 5, 6, 7% body fat, that is not healthy. You get sick very easily. Women can lose their period. You don't sleep well. Again, you're moody. It's just for a look, so obviously that's not for everybody. So, but obviously you can still lift weights, take concepts of bodybuilding, get big, still have abs, and not get to that point. So
what was the after post show? I'm curious about how long did it take you, at least mentally, to get back into a spot where you're like, all right, I'm starting to feel like myself again?
It definitely takes a while. For me, I talked about this on the first episode, is I gave myself about 2 weeks to just not track anything. If I wanted to work out, I could. If I didn't, that's fine. Kept it pretty controlled. I really didn't gain a lot of weight. I think I only went up like 5-10 pounds. I don't think I really got my peak bulking season was only 14 pounds above my stage weight. So like I was 180 on stage, 194 is my peak bulk. So really not that bad. Like I said, gave myself 2 weeks off, but even when I was eating more, like 1,000 calories more than when I was cutting, it still took, I'd say maybe a month or two. I mean, you do feel better initially, of course, but it's so slow. I think it took me at least two months at least to like feel like in the gym, okay, now I'm making progress. Now my body's like, okay, we're growing. Because I mean, obviously when you're just trying to slow the train down, all of a sudden, like, let's go. It took a while for my body to be like, okay, now we're good. I'd get headaches for a while. Or like you're eating a lot of food and you just start to feel fat, even though you're eating like a healthy amount. That happened. Because it takes a while for your metabolism to kick back in to actually use the food as fuel again. So that's how it was for me.
Right.
How was it for you, Zach?
It took a little while. I think for me, it took maybe, I would say about a month or two. And that's referring to it's an overall stance on it. So as far as like the physical side of things, the little bit of your weight's starting to come back, your mood's improving, your gains, I guess, are kind of coming back to where they were before you peaked or whatever. I think for me, the biggest hurdle as far as like turning around and going the opposite way after the show was like getting the mindset back, because, and this is a whole nother episode entirely, but I really flew off the rails as far as like food and stuff goes. I don't know how many thousands of calories I consumed in like the days or week following the show, just because it's like a dam, and the water is just crashing up against it, and it's like this dam is not going to last forever. And after the show, it's like the dam broke, and I just started eating and eating and eating, and I felt like crap, like mentally, physically. I hadn't really started going back to the gym in a religious sort of way yet, so like I didn't even have that to fall back on, and it's a crushing thing, and it's I would not advise like other people do this, because it doesn't help, it doesn't do any good. Any bodybuilder that's worth their salt is going to tell you that you need to make a gradual process gaining the weight as well as losing it, after a show. So it's definitely a tough thing, but I would say maybe a month or two, like eventually, after, because I was eating so much junk food and stuff, I was sick of it after a week. So after a week was over, I was like, oh, okay, now we can hop back on the train. And then I slowly, I got back on. So maybe a month or two, but for a few weeks there, I mean, it was not a good time.
Yeah,
not a fun time.
That's a great analogy. All right, so I know we're getting close on time here. So before we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask you, G, if you want to tell anybody, where we can find you on social media, maybe anything about your prep, things you want us to know, if you have any last minute questions for either Zach and I, anything you want to talk about.
I was just looking forward to seeing everyone's progress and sharing mine. Just the Instagram profile, which is G_F_2. And just be sure to post progress pics and then some workout videos and some fun stuff in there.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Definitely excited for you. When is your show? What is the date?
It's in August. As of right now, it's an August show, but we'll see. I'm starting to see other shows that are later on this year, and see if that makes more sense for me. Just because other stuff that's happening professionally and all that stuff. So August may not be the right fit for me for other reasons, but we'll see.
That's
Feel
totally
free to
fine.
join the one in Cleveland.
What's that?
Yeah, feel free to.
I said feel free to
August
join the one in
27th.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
End of August. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So there's plenty of shows in fall. Fall is my favorite time because you get to shred down in the summer. You have your show in the fall, and then you get to bulk up and have all your cheat meals during the holidays. So it's perfect timing.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on. I'm sure we'll have you on again. Talk about maybe once you're closer in your prep, maybe a few weeks out, how you're feeling, how the progress is coming. Touch base again. But again, thank you so much for being on with us.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me.
This was good.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right, you too. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.